Oh, hey buddy, it's your old pal Scott, and this is Let's Talk Tabletop. You know what I want to discuss today? I want to discuss something that nobody ever seems to acknowledge. It's the bravery that it takes to play narratively. Now, that may sound absurd, I understand, but we will dig into it, and I will explain to you just how brave the intrepid souls are who play narrative wargaming. So you might be thinking to yourself that probably the competitive players would be the brave ones, right? The ones that are constantly facing the hardest lists imaginable with very skilled players fighting them constantly in tournaments and all sorts of things like that. And even their pickup games are this nail biting, cutting edge sort of thing where they're using every single stratagem to their advantage in every single rule. They know their army to the max and they know their opponent's army, and two people are playing as hard as they possibly can. Now, you would think that would actually take bravery, right? And of course, this is all hyperbolic to begin with, but you think that would take bravery to do that, to face an opponent who wants to crush you and table you. And that's true. To some degree, yes, you really are bringing your A game and you're really trying hard. That does take a certain amount of defiance and grit, right? But if you think about it, contrary to how most people probably think, a narrative game takes more bravery. Now, let me start off with saying that narrative games oftentimes are lopsided, where one person has much stronger forces or has a definite advantage or something like that. Narrative missions often don't have a clear winner and loser. You kind of have to get the gist of it, right? Because you may not be using points at all. You may not be using something like I won 25 to 15 points, right? Putting numbers on it like they do in RPGs for skill levels and things like that is a really nice way to determine, I got one more point than you, I won. Some games don't even use that. Like I remember Firestorm Armada used a variation of it. If you were within 5 points, it was like a minor victory, etc., of each other. But in narrative games, a lot of times, there is kind of just a feeling you get, right? Like, okay, I was supposed to defend this fort. I lost most of my people, but I did a lot against you. I don't know. I feel like I mostly won because I defended my fort, even though it may not have panned out as the way you wanted. And your opponent would be like, yeah, I think you probably won because you defended the fort, etc., etc. So a lot of times it's not clear. Well, what do people use to brave the unknown? Things that are not clear? They use bravery is what they use. It's very, very easy to declare when you won when you're using points, because the points are just a number, and if number bigger, then number win, right? But narrative, it actually takes a lot more mental effort to figure out exactly who won, and maybe sometimes you might disagree with your opponent. They go, I think I really won that one, and you go, actually, I feel like I won, and then you just shake hands and walk away. That's kind of the cool thing about narrative games, is that it's kind of objective to some degree, but it also makes it very scary for some people. Now, I know a lot of gamers, usually tending to be more on the competitive side, that want everything to be as balanced as possible. And why is that? Well, of course, they want it balanced as possible because they are going to try to win. They're going to try to bring their most powerful forces, and you bring your most powerful forces, and then you can figure out who won by that 1 point, right? But if it's lopsided, then you hurt their chances, or you give them an unfair advantage. So I've actually had people that are competitive that, no lie, would have an issue if we're playing Warhammer 40k, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm 10 points over, is that fine? And I had one guy I'm thinking of in particular and go, oh, 10 points, can't you knock it down? And I'm like, well, no, the way 10th edition is, things are kind of in chunks, a little more like Age of Sigmar, so it's kind of hard, whatever. And he's like, well, I don't really like you being over 10 points. So I'm like, okay, so then I'd have to cut something out and be under 80 points or something like that just to appease him. But I'm thinking, this game is not that balanced where 10 points matters. And I've repeated that line to new players constantly. New players would be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm 10 points over. I'm 20 points over. I am 50 points over. And I'm like, dude, it's not that balanced. You're good. Because it's the truth, right? It is the truth. The game has so much rolling and so much randomness, especially in Warhammer, that 50 points is not going to matter. If you are playing a 2,000 point game, 50 points is a very small percentage of that. So, now also, I have found specifically in competitive players, they're really concerned if you tweak the rules at all. They don't like it. You make them uncomfortable and unsettled when you go, hey, I'm only supposed to take, one of these, but I'm going to take two. Is that cool? Or this thing actually doesn't go with this detachment, but do you mind if I just bring it anyway? And they don't like that at all. Well, really, the rules are the rules. You really shouldn't, And it's just funny to me. So it really takes a certain amount of bravery to play narratively. That also goes for the missions. So the missions in 40K specifically are very regimented. They measure out every single objective. A lot of times they have suggestions into where the terrain should be placed. And the more competitive people will do that to the T. Me and my friend James will make up our own missions all the time, whether it be mass brutality or 40K or whatever. And we know that it may not pan out. Sometimes we finish a mission and we're like, oh, we probably should have tweaked it that way and we'll change it next time, whatever. It gave someone an unfair advantage because of the mission that we made. But we always joke, him and I, because the more competitive players will go, oh, I'll put down 5 objectives down the center of the board and go, okay, let's play. And they go, what mission is that? And I'm like, it's not a mission. I just put objectives down. They're equidistant to our deployment zone. Like, what's it matter? Oh, I don't know. Why don't we roll for a rule book mission? I'm like, do you have to play a rule book mission? Again, you actually see the fear in their eyes of, oh, it's uncertain. I don't know. And it's funny because all my most competitive friends do not like playing narrative missions when you come up with different rules or whatever. They also seriously do not like having any points disadvantage because in some cases I've told competitive people that, you could just take a handicap, right? You don't have to, I will tone down my play style if I'm playing a new person or someone that I know is not as tactical or whatever. I will intentionally rein it in if I'm beating them by a wide margin. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna start toning it down, and I may not make the optimal decisions, right? But I'm not gonna tell them I'm doing that. And honestly, you can see fear in their eyes when it's, oh, that's uncertain. I don't know if that's not in the rule book. Then I don't know, man. They act as if the game designers, including Games Workshop, are some sort of probability gods where as long as you follow all the rules, it's balanced. And I can tell you for certain, a lot of times it is not. Now, sometimes it pans out evenly or whatever, but a lot of times these games are not balanced. And they don't necessarily need to be balanced. I understand that in a competitive setting, like a tournament, you want them balanced because you want a fair shake at winning. But in a narrative, a lot of times, if my army is weaker than yours, then we can tweak the mission so that I still get an advantage to try to balance things out. But you need to be brave and be secure in yourself to make your own rules or do your own thing or make your army in a weird way that isn't chapter approved or whatever, and allow yourself to take a disadvantage. Like, you know what? I'm going to give you 25% more points. Just take a bigger list. But I get to go first turn or whatever. I choose the deployment or something like that. It's just funny to me that you would not think that competitive people, you would think that competitive people are the brave one because they're really trying their best and their opponent is expected to try their best. But actually it's the narrative people that need to be self-confident in the fact that, hey, I think we've worked this out. I'm not sure. Let's see how it pans out. And if it doesn't pan out and I lost because of that, oh well, we'll fix it next time. Like, it takes bravery to treat this game like a game. And a lot of people treat it like a lifestyle or an esport or something completely different. I just think that's interesting. And I have legitimately seen fear in people's eyes if I have 20 more points than them. or if I have 10 more points, or if I made up a mission, or anything like that. Like, hey, this model doesn't really go in the detachment, but I wanted to bring it anyway. Well, if it's not in the detachment, then I don't think you can take it. I'm like, okay. And then you go, oh, you're one of those guys. Okay. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. It occurred to me the other day that real warriors play narratively. Keep that in mind. Anyway, thank you for watching and liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, etc. Thank you to all my beautiful, sexy, good-smelling Patreon patrons that are listed right here. They are all wonderful people. If you ever met them, they're extremely good-looking, and they smell nice. I don't know what it is. I've never met one of my Patreon patrons that didn't smell nice. They're very hygienic. Anyway, I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.